1, we are dealing and discussing the things further. That will begin from the para 16, मतलब जो 16 वाला point है, that will onwards. Investment of a company to be held in its name, section 187. Investments of a company to be held in its own name, section 187 बोलता है. Section 187 of the Act contain provision which, as a general rule, require that all investment which is made by the company shall be held by its own name. There are certain exemptions also. The provision of section 187 are discussed as under. Investment by a company in its own name. हम क्या बोलते हैं? Investment by a company in its own name. Investment by a company in its own name क्या बोलता है? According to section 187, all investment which is made or held by a company in any property, security or assets shall be made and held by in its own name. Following diagram जो है वो depicts कर रहा है this provision sorry. तो following program हम क्या बोलते हैं? Following diagram depicts this provision. जितने भी इन्वेस्टमेंट होंगे, all investment which is made or held by a company in any property, security or other asset shall be made and held by its own. As an exception, it is provided that a company may hold any share in its subsidiary company in the name of any nominee or nominees of the company, if it is necessary to do so to ensure that the number of members of the subsidiary company is not reduced below the statutory limit. उसके बाद आता है हमारा exemptions. It is not always necessary that a company must hold the investment in its own name. Certain exemption provided by section 187 subsection 2 are as under. उसके बाद आता है हमारा the deposit of shares and debentures with bankers for collection of dividend and interest. A company is permitted to deposit with its banker any shares or security for the collection of any dividend or interest payable thereon. Deposit or transfer to or hold in the name of its banker share or security in order to facilitate the transfer. A company is permitted to deposit with or transfer to or hold in the name of its banker, the State Bank of India or a scheduled bank, share or security in order to facilitate the transfer thereof. However, within a period of 6 months, हम क्या बोलते हैं that? However, within the period of 6 months, within how much period? Within the period of 6 months from the date of which the shares or security in order to facilitate are transferred by the company to or are first held by the company in the name of bankers, the State Bank of India or scheduled bank. No transfer of such shares or security take place with the company shall, as soon as practicable after the expiry of that period, have the shares or security retransferred to it from the bankers, as the case may be, again hold the share or security in its own name. Then comes the deposit with or transfer to any person any shares or security by security for the repayment of any loan. A company is permitted to deposit with or transfer to any person any shares or security by way of security for the repayment of any loan advance to the company or the performance of any obligation undertaken by it. Deposit with, हम क्या बोलते हैं? Deposit with or transfer to any person any shares, securities by way of any security for the repayment of any loan. A company is permitted to deposit with or transfer to any person any shares or security by way of security for the repayment of any loan advanced to the company or the performance of any obligation undertaken by it. Depository investment in form of security held as a beneficial owner. A company is permitted to hold investment in the name of depository. Company जो है वो permitted है, वो hold कर सकती है investment in the name of depository when such investment are in the form of security held by the company as a beneficial owner. फिर आता है हमारा maintenance of register by a company in a case securities are held in a name of depository and not on its own name. Section 187 permits a company to hold security, that is, any share or security, in the name of depository, the company being the beneficial owner. In this case, though the investment in shares and security has not been made by the company, but the security are not held by in its own name. When the above situation arises, the company shall maintain a register which shall contain such a particular as may be prescribed, and such a register shall be open to inspection by any member or debenture holder of the company without any charge during business hours, subject to such a reasonable restriction as the company may by its article in general meeting impose. Then comes what will be the provision regarding the maintenance of register as per Rule 14. कौन से ऐसे प्रोविजन है रिगार्डिंग द मेंटेनेंस ऑफ रजिस्टर एज पर रूल 14. जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट है ऑफ रूल 14 ऑफ द कंपनीज मीटिंग ऑफ बोर्ड एंड इट्स पावर रूल 2014 आर एज अंडर maintenance of register. From the date of its register, every company shall maintain a register in form MBP3. हम क्या बोलते हैं हाउ देयर विल बी द मेंटेनेंस ऑफ रजिस्टर को कैसे मेंटेन किया जाएगा. फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ इट्स रजिस्ट्रेशन एवरी कंपनी शैल मेंटेन करेगी रजिस्टर इन फॉर्म MBP3. Entry of particulars of investment. The company shall enter in the register chronologically the particular of investment in share or other security beneficially held by the company but which are not held in its own name. It shall also record the reason for not holding the investment in its own name and the relationship or contract under which the investment is held in the name of any other person. The company shall also record whether such investment are held in a third party's name for the time being or otherwise place. The register shall be maintained at the registered office of the company and shall be preserved permanently. preserve हो जाएगा. उसके बाद क्या आता है? What will be the custody of register? The register shall be kept in the custody of the company, secretary of the company, or if there is no company secretary, any director or any other officer authorized by the board. What will be the authentication of entries? The entries in the register shall be authenticated by the company secretary of the company or by any other person authorized by the board for the purpose. Security held by any person in which the company holds beneficial interest. Compliance of Section 89 require the declaration in respect of beneficial interest of any security. Then what will be the punishment for contravention? Section 187. If a company is in a default in complying with the provision of this section, the company shall be liable to a penalty of 5 lakh rupee. वो liable होगी for a penalty of 5 lakh rupee. It will be liable for a penalty of 5 lakh rupee, and every officer of a company who is in default shall be liable to a penalty of 50,000 rupees, and that will be the penalty of 50,000 rupees. Then आता है हमारा related party transaction section 188. Section 188 of the Act along with Rule 15 of Companies Meeting of Board and its Power Rule 2014 contain the provision which regulate the related party transaction. Further, Section 2 Clause 76 of the Act define who is a related party. This provision are discussed in the following paragraphs. What will be the meaning of related party? As per Section 2 Clause 76, related party with reference to a company means a director or his relative. Director or his relative, a key managerial personnel or his relative, director or his relative, key managerial personnel or his relative, a firm in which a director, manager or his relative is a partner, a private company in which a director or manager or his relative is a member or director, a public company in which a director or manager is a director and holds along with his relative more than 2%, which holds more than 2% of its paid-up share capital. Any body corporate whose board of director, managing director, and manager is accustomed to act in accordance with the advice, direction, or instruction of a director or manager. Any person on whose advice, direction, or instruction a director or manager is accustomed to act. It is provided that subclause 6 and 7 shall not apply to the advice, direction, or instruction which are given in the professional capacity. Any body corporate which is a holding subsidiary associate of such a company, a subsidiary of holding company to which it is also a subsidiary, an investing company or the venture of the company. It is clarified by the explanation that the investing company or the venturer of a company means a body corporate whose investment in the company would result in the company becoming an associate company of the body corporate. Then comes the exemption. In case of a private company which has not committed a default in filing its financial statement under Section 137, annual return under Section 92 of the registrar, this Section 2 shall not apply with respect to Section 188. Such other person as may be prescribed for the box below. In this respect, Rule 3 of the Company's Specification of Definition Detail Rule 2014 provides that for the purpose of this subclause 9 above, a director other than the independent director or key managerial personnel of the holding company is relative with reference to a company shall be deemed to be a related party. Further, the person covered under this subclause 6 and 7 above shall not be related party if advice, direction, or instruction are given them in a professional capacity. What will be the meaning of relative का क्या मतलब होगा? What will be the meaning of relative? Section 2, Clause 77 of the Act defined the term relative accordingly. Relative with reference to any person means anyone who is related to another if they are members of Hindu undivided family, they are husband and wife. One person is related to other in a prescribed manner as under. Father including stepfather, mother including stepmother, son including stepson, son's wife, daughter, daughter husband, brother including the stepbrother, sister including the stepsister. Related party transaction to which Section 188 is applicable. Section 188 specifies certain transaction, contract or arrangement which shall be deemed as related party transaction. If a company undertakes them with a related party, such a transaction are depicted in the following diagram. उसके बाद transaction which is referred to in subsection 1 section 188. अगर सेल हुआ है, परचेज हुआ है, सप्लाई कर रहे हैं हम किसी गुड्स को, मटेरियल को, सेलिंग हुआ है, अदरवाइज डिस्पोजिंग ऑफ, बाइंग प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ एनी काइंड, लीजिंग ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी, अगर हम लीज कर रहे हैं किसी प्रॉपर्टी को, इफ वी आर लीजिंग ऑफ एनी प्रॉपर्टी, availing and rendering of any service, appointment of any agent for the purchase of sale, goods, material, service, property, such related parties, appointment to any office, place of profit in the company, subsidiary company, associate company, underwriting the subscription of any security and derivative thereof of the company. उसके बाद आता है हमारा what will be the meaning of office or place of profit. जो expression है office or place of profit means any office or place where such office or place is held by the director if the director holding it received from the company anything by way of remuneration over and above the remuneration to which he is entitled as director by way of salary, fee, commission, perquisites, any rent, free accommodation or otherwise. Where such office or place is held by individual other than the director, by any firm, private company, other body corporate, if the individual firm, private company, body corporate holding is received from the company anything by way of remuneration, salary, commission, perquisite, any rent-free accommodation or otherwise. It is noteworthy that Section 188 does not bar a company from entering into related party transaction. They can be very well undertaken, but after following the procedure prescribed as per the law, like taking permission from the board if required, from the company in general meeting when prescribed, limit are exceeded. If the provision do not require any procedure to be followed, this transaction can also be entered without following the prescribed procedure. Related party transaction for which no approval is required, fourth proviso to Section 188. In case any related party transaction is entered into by the company in its ordinary course of business and at arm's length price, Section 188 is not attracted and therefore no approval is required. However, transactions which are not on an arm's length basis shall require the appropriate approval. The expression arm's length transaction means a transaction between two related parties that is conducted as if they were unrelated, so that there is no conflict of interest. Then आता है हमारा related party transaction for which no approval. Related party transaction requiring the consent of the board. Related party transaction में क्या चाहिए होता है? Consent चाहिए होती है बोर्ड की. In case of related party transaction covered under Section 188, contract or arrangement between a company and related party is not on arm's length basis and also does not require approval of the shareholder. It shall be entered into by the company after obtaining the consent of the board director given by the resolution at the meeting of the board and subject to the condition as prescribed by Rule 15 of the company's meeting of board and its power rule 2014. उसके बाद आता है हमारा according to section 15 if a company entered हुई है into a transaction with a related party तो जो agenda होगा board meeting at which the resolution is proposed to be moved shall disclose in the following matter. What will be the name क्या होगा? Related party, nature of relationship, nature, duration of the contract, particulars of the contract or arrangement. What will be the material terms of the contract or arrangement including the value if any advance paid or received for the contract or arrangement if any, what will be the manner of for determining the price and other commercial terms, what included as a part of contract and not considered as a part of the contract. Whether all the factors relevant to the contract have been considered, if not, the detail of factor not considered with the rationale for not considering those factors. Any other information relevant or important for the board to take decision on the proposed transaction. According to Rule 15 subsection 2, in case any director is interested in any contract arrangement with the related party, he shall not be present at the meeting during discussion on the resolution related to such contract or arrangement. उसके बाद आता है related party transaction requiring the approval by ordinary resolution. In case the company enter into a contract or arrangement with the related party and the value of transaction exceeds the prescribed value as per Rule 15 subsection 3, it shall be entered into with the prior approval of the company by passing an ordinary resolution. जो भी provision होगा Rule 15 subsection 3 are explained as under. Approval by the ordinary resolution is required by the transaction or transaction to be entered into as contract or arrangement with respect to classes A to E of section 188 subsection 1 are as per the following criteria. Then what will be the details of transaction to be entered into as contract or arrangement with respect to clauses A to E of subsection 1 of section 188? What will be the prescribed limit for seeking approval by resolution relating to the specified transaction? Sale purchase कैसे होगा और sale purchase or supply of any goods material directly or through appointment of agent. If the value of such a transaction or transaction amounting to 10% or 10% or more of the turnover of the company. Above limit shall apply for transaction or transaction to be entered into either individually or taken together with the previous transaction during a financial year. As mentioned in clause A and clause E respectively of subsection 1 of section 188. Then comes if there is a selling or otherwise disposing of or buying the property. हम क्या बोल रहे हैं? Selling or otherwise disposing of or buying the property of any kind directly or through appointment of agent as mentioned in clause B and clause A respectively of subsection section 188. If the value of such a transaction or transaction amounting to 10% या फिर से ज़्यादा of net worth of the company, above limit shall apply for transaction or transaction to be entered into either individually or taken together with the provision of with the previous transaction during a financial year. Leasing of property of any kind as mentioned in clause C of subsection 1 of section 188. If the value of such a transaction or transaction amounting to 10% या उससे ज़्यादा हो 10% या उससे ज़्यादा हो or more of the turnover of the company, above limit shall apply for the transaction or transaction to be entered into either individually or taken together with the previous transaction during the financial year. Then availing or rendering of any service directly or through appointment or agent as mentioned in clause D and clause E respectively of subsection 1 of section 188. If the value of such a transaction or transaction amounting to 10% या उससे ज़्यादा हो of the turnover of the company, above limit shall apply for transaction or transaction to be entered into either individually or taken together with the previous transaction during a financial year. Where the transaction or transaction to be entered into as a contract or arrangement is for appointment of any office or place of profit in the company, its subsidiary company, associate company at a monthly remuneration कितनी है 2.5 lakh. remuneration कितनी है exceed कर रही है. If it is exceeding remuneration कितनी 2.5 lakh rupees as mentioned in this clause of section 188, approval by an ordinary resolution is required. उसके बाद आता है where the transaction or transaction to be entered into any security to be entered into as a contract or arrangement is for remuneration for underwriting the subscription of any security or derivative thereof of the company अगर वो exceed कर रही है 1% of the net worth as mentioned in clause D of subsection 1 of section 188, approval by an ordinary resolution is required. Turnover or net worth. The turnover or net worth shall be computed on the basis of the audited financial statement of the preceding financial year. जो भी explanatory statement है to be annexed to the notice of general meeting convened pursuant to section 101 shall contain the following particulars, namely what will be the name क्या होगा related party का, name क्या होगा director or key managerial personnel who is related if any, what will be the nature of relationship, nature, material terms, monetary value, particulars of the contract or arrangement, any other information relevant or information for the members to take a decision on the proposed resolution. There will be no voting by the related member. A member of the company who is a related party shall not vote on the resolution mean for approving any contract or arrangement which may be entered into by the company. However, nothing contained in this second proviso shall apply to a company in which 90% or more in a number of relative or promoters are related party. First and second proviso to section 188 shall not apply to a government company in respect of contract or arrangement entered into by it any other government company, a government company other than the listed company in respect of contract or arrangement other than those referred to in clause this in case such a company obtain approval of ministry or department of central government. administratively in charge of the company, or as the case may be, state of government before entering into such a contract or arrangement. The above exemption is applicable to a government company which has not committed a default in its filing financial statement under section 137 or annual return under section 92 with the registrar. Second proviso to section 188 shall not apply नहीं होगा to the private company provided that it has not committed the default in filing its financial statement under section 137 or annual return under section 92 with the registrar. ये जो exemption है, this exemption implies that the member of a private company is permitted to vote on the resolution irrespective of the fact that such a member is a related party. उसके बाद आता है what will be the scope of proviso to this section 188 clarification क्या होगा. जो भी second proviso है to subsection 1 of section 188, section 188 क्या बोलता है, God it is time हो रहा है पीछे. 188 required that no member of the company shall vote on a resolution. कोई भी member नहीं कर सकता है to approve the contract or arrangement referred to in the first proviso if such a member is a related party. The MC has clarified that the related party referred to in this second proviso has to be construed with reference only to the contract and arrangement for which the said resolution is being passed. The term a related party in the above context refer only to such a related party as may be related party in the context of contract or arrangement for which the said resolution is passed. Then how there will be the transaction, क्या होगा transaction between the holding company and its wholly owned subsidiary. Proviso to section 188 in case transaction are entered into a holding company, its wholly owned subsidiary whose accounts are consolidated with such a holding company in place before the shareholder at the general meeting, there is no need for seeking approval of the company by passing an ordinary resolution by the members. Explanation 2 to Rule 15 state that in case of a wholly owned subsidiary, the resolution passed by the holding company shall be sufficient for the purpose of entering into the transaction between the wholly owned subsidiary and the holding company. Then आता है हमारा related party transaction which is voidable at the option of the board and shareholder. Section 188, a contract or arrangement shall be voidable होगा at the option of the board as the case may be of the shareholder. Contract or arrangement entered into without obtaining the consent of the board and approval by the resolution. Where any contract or arrangement is entered into by a director or any other employee without obtaining the consent of a board or approval by a resolution in the general meeting as required under section 188 and no ratification by board shareholder, it is not ratified by the board as the case may be by the shareholder at a meeting within 3 months. Within how many months? Within 3 months from the date on which such a contract or arrangement was entered into. उसके बाद आता है further if the contract or arrangement is with a related party to any other director or is authorized by any other director, the director concerned shall indemnify the company against any losses incurred by it. Then company जो है वो proceed कर सकती है, वो recover कर सकती है loss in contravention of provision of this section. Section 188 provided all it shall be open to the company to proceed against the director or any other employee who had entered into such a contract arrangement in contravention of the provision of section 188 to recovery for any loss sustained by it as a result of such a contract or arrangement. उसके बाद punishment for contravention of section 188 subsection 5 क्या बोलती है? If any director or any other employee of a company who had entered into the contract or arrangement or authorized by it in violation of the provision of section 188 shall be punishable होगी as under. Listed company वाले केस में liable to penalty of 25 lakh rupee. Listed company वाले केस में क्या है? Liable to penalty for 25 lakh rupee के लिए कंपनी जो है liable होगी और any other company जो है penalty of 5 lakh. और दूसरी कोई कंपनी जो है 5 लाख, लिस्टेड कंपनी 25 लाख, लिस्टेड कंपनी 25 लाख और अदर कंपनी 5 लाख ओनली. उसके बाद डिस्क्लोजर कैसे होगा? रिलेटेड पार्टी इन द बोर्ड्स रिपोर्ट सेक्शन 188 every contract or arrangement entered into under section 188 the related party transaction shall be mentioned in the board report to the shareholder along with the jurisdiction along with the justification for entering into such a contract or arrangement. What will be the applicability of section 188 of the to the corporate restructuring amalgamation etc. जो MC है उसने clarify किया कि जो भी transaction arise हो रहे out of the compromises से arrangement से या फिर amalgamation dealt with under specific provision of the Companies Act will not be attract तो नहीं करेगी the section 188 of the Companies Act and all such thing. उसके बाद हम further पढ़ रहे हैं that is जो नेशनल कंपनी लॉ हम क्या बोलते हैं? जो नेशनल कंपनी लॉ ट्रिब्यूनल है ऑफ कोची Benz in Sulojal Gupta versus the RBG Enterprises Limited pass an order under Section 188 of the Companies Act. It was held that where the directors of a company have siphoned huge amounts from company in pretext of remuneration to themselves and to their spouses, full-time employees assisting companies without approval of majority of shareholder was related party transaction and said to the contrary to provision of law and in breach of article of association of a company, thus were held to be declared as invalid. उसके बाद आता है जो हाई कोर्ट ऑफ मद्रास इन द विक्रमजीत सिंह ऑब्रॉय वर्सेस रजिस्ट्रार ऑफ कंपनीज हैड जो भी पेमेंट होगा रॉयल्टी का इज अ लाइसेंस फी and for the use of brand, trade name, same do not qualify as contract related to sale, purchase and supply of goods, material, service and thereof. Therefore, Section 188 does not apply नहीं कर रहा है. Further with respect to हम क्या बोलते हैं further with respect to the financial statement board report where the company had availed service such as the car rentals, laundry services from related party in their ordinary course of business on an arm length basis, it was held that the company was not required to disclose same in its board report as per the requirement of section 134 read with 188 of the Companies Act 2013. उसके बाद आता है हमारा रजिस्टर ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स और अरेंजमेंट इन विच डायरेक्टर आर इंटरेस्टेड सेक्शन 189. How can we will deal this register of contract or arrangement in which the directors are interested section 189. Section 189 of the Act contain provision for maintenance of register of contract or arrangement in which the directors are interested. According to this section के according maintenance of register of contracts or arrangement, it is mandatory है सारी की सारी companies के लिए. हम क्या बोलते हैं that this is what wait for a while wait. Either I am audible or not. उसके बाद हम बोलते हैं what will be the manner of preparation of register. Such a register shall be prepared in the prescribed manner and shall contain the prescribed particulars. As regard prescribed manner and particular, we may refer Rule 16 of the Company's Meeting of Board and its Power Rule 2014, which say that register of contract or arrangement shall be maintained in form MBP4 में maintain किया जाएगा. हम क्या बोलते हैं in the form MBP4 the company concerned shall either enter therein. What will be the manner of preparation of register? The particular of a company or companies or body corporate firm and other association or individual in which any director has any concern or interest as mentioned under section 184. As an exception, the particular of the company or companies or body corporate in which the director himself with any of the director hold 2% or less of the paid up share capital. If it is holding 2% or less of its paid up share capital, would not be required to be entered in the register. देन उसके बाद आता है जो भी पर्टिकुलर्स होंगे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स के अरेंजमेंट के विद द बॉडी कॉर्पोरेट और अदर फर्म्स एंटिटी एज मेंशन अंडर दिस सेक्शन 80.84 in which any director directly or indirectly concerned or interested. The particular of contract or arrangement with the related party with respect to transaction to which section 188 applies. When to make entries in the register, कब हम entry करेंगे in the register. As per Rule 16, the entries in the register shall be made at once in the chronological order. They shall be authenticated by the company secretary or any other person authorized by the board. Register to be signed. The register after being duly filed and updated shall be placed before the next meeting of the board and signed by all the directors present at the meeting. Then I got disclosure to be made by the director or KMP. Every director or key managerial personnel shall within a period of 30 days of his appointment or relinquishment of his office as the case may be disclose the particulars specified in section 184 relating to his concern or interest in other association which are required to be included in the register and such other information relating to himself as may be prescribed. उसके बाद रजिस्टर टू बी कैप्ट एज रजिस्टर टू बी कैप्ट एट रजिस्टर ऑफिस रजिस्टर हमें कहाँ रखना पड़ेंगे टू बी कैप्ट एट रजिस्टर ऑफिस द रजिस्टर शैल बी कैप्ट एट द रजिस्टर ऑफिस ऑफ द कंपनी एंड इट शैल रिमेन ओपन फॉर इंस्पेक्शन एट सच ऑफिस during the business hours. Then preservation and custody. According to this, the register shall be preserved permanently and shall be kept in custody of the company secretary and any other person authorized by the board for the purpose. Then comes the extract from register. What will be the extracts from register? क्या है in Rule 16? The company shall provide extract from register to a member of the company on his request within 7 days within 7 days from the date on which such a request is made up to the payment of such a fees as may be specified in the article of company, subject to maximum of rupees 10 per piece. Then register to be produced at AGM. Then what? Then comes the register. Then comes what? इसके बाद हम कहाँ थे? आई थिंक कहाँ तो थे. यस, 10 रुपीज पर पेज हो गया था हमारा. पॉइंट नंबर 8, पॉइंट नंबर 9 पे आ गए हम. पॉइंट नंबर 9 बोलता है रजिस्टर टू बी प्रोड्यूस एट AGM सेक्शन 189. द रजिस्टर शैल बी प्रोड्यूस. The register to be produced at AGM. The register shall be produced at the commencement of every annual general meeting. It shall remain open and accessible during the continuance of the meeting of any person having the right to attend the meeting. Thus, even a proxy has right to inspect the register. Proxy भी inspect कर सकता है. The right to मतलब उसके पास right है to inspect the register. Exception section 189 subsection 5 क्या बोलता है? Section 189 subsection 1 shall not apply to any contract or arrangement. That is, the particular of a contract or arrangement shall not be enter in the register. Section 189 subsection 1 shall not apply to any contract or arrangement में नहीं लगेगा. That is, the particular of a contract or arrangement shall not be enter in the register. If it is for the sale, purchase or supply of any goods, material, service, and the value of such a goods and material or the cost of such a service does not exceed 5 lakh in aggregate in any year, or if it is entered into by a banking company for the collection of bill in the ordinary course of its business. What will be the penalty for contravention section 189 subsection 6? Every director who fails to comply with the provision of section 189 regarding the maintenance of register of contract or arrangement in which the directors are interested and the rules made thereunder shall be liable to a penalty of 25,000. So they shall be liable for a penalty. कितने की penalty? For the rupees 25,000. उसके बाद आता है हमारा in respect of section 8 companies which has not committed a default in filing its financial statement under section 137 or annual return under section 92 with the registrar. The provision of section 189 shall also apply only if the transaction with reference to section 188 on the basis of the terms and condition of the contract or arrangement not exceed 1 lakh rupees से ज़्यादा exceed ना करे. What will be the contract of employment with the managing or full-time director? कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट विद मैनेजिंग एंड होल टाइम डायरेक्टर क्या होगा? अ कंपनी में एंटर कर सकती है इनटू कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट विद मैनेजिंग और होल टाइम डायरेक्टर. सेक्शन 190 of the act contain the provision relating to keeping of such a contract or employment. This provision as stated as under: maintenance of a copy of contract of employment. Every company shall keep at its registered office where a contract of service with the managing or whole time director is in writing a copy of the contract, or where such a contract is not in writing. अगर जो contract है that the same is not in writing, or not in writing a written memorandum setting out its term. Inspection: the copy of the contract or the memorandum shall be open to inspection by any member of the company without the payment of fee. Penalty क्या होगी? What will be the penalty for the non-compliance? Section 190. If any default is made in complying with section 190, the penalty shall be as under: company liable to penalty, that is rupees 25,000 for each default. Every defaulting officer liable to a penalty of 5,000 for each default. Exception क्या है? The provision of section 190 shall not apply to a private company. पे apply नहीं होगा. It will not apply to a private company. Then what will be the payment to director for loss of office etc. in connection with transfer of undertaking property or share? Section 191. Payment क्या होगा? What will be the payment to director for loss of office etc. in connection with transfer of undertaking property or shares? Section 191 of the Act applicable to all the companies contain provision which regulate payment to the director for loss of office in connection with transfer of undertaking property or shares by the company, and this provision are discussed as under. कोई भी compensation नहीं होगी. There will be no compensation except after specific disclosure and after approval of payment proposal by members. Enumerate happening of certain specific event in relation to a company, and also state inter alia whether or not any director of that company shall receive compensation etc. on happening of such event. This event are given as under: the transfer of the whole or any part of undertaking or property of the company, or the transfer to any person of any or all of any of the shares in the company, being a transfer resulting from an offer made to the general body of shareholder, an offer made on behalf of some or other body corporate with a view to company becoming a subsidiary company of such a body corporate or subsidiary company of its holding company, an offer made by or on behalf of an individual with a view to his obtaining the right to exercise or control the exercise of not less than one third of total voting power at any general meeting of the company, or any other offer which is conditioned on acceptance to given extent. Then आता है हमारा disclosure of particulars and approval in general meeting. In connection with above event, a director of a company shall not receive any payment unless particular as may be prescribed. With respect to the payment proposed to be made by the transferee or a person, including the amount thereof, have been disclosed to the members of a company, and the proposal had been approved by the company in general meeting. Subject to the condition of disclosure and approval as mentioned above, a director or a company may receive payment by way of compensation for loss of office, as a consideration for retirement from office in connection with such a loss or retirement from such a company, from the transferee of such undertaking or property, or from the transferee of shares from any other person which is not being such company. According to Rule 17 of the Companies Meeting of Board and its Power Rule 2014, the specified particular which need to be, जो कि हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा, which need to be disclosed to the members of the company for approving the proposal by passing a special resolution at general meeting are as under. What will be the name क्या होगा director का, amount proposed to be paid, event due to which compensation becomes payable, date of board meeting recommending such payment, basis क्या होगा for the amount determined, what will be the reason or justification for the payment, manner of payment whether payable in cash or otherwise, and how, what will be the sources of payment and any other relevant. ये वाली चीज़ें हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं कि नेम क्या होगा डायरेक्टर का. देन उसके बाद आता है हमारा अमाउंट प्रपोज टू बी पेड, इवेंट ड्यू टू विच कंपनसेशन बिकम पेबल्स, डेट ऑफ बोर्ड मीटिंग रिकमेंडेशन सच अ पेमेंट, basis for the amount determined, reason or justification for the payment, manner of payment whether payable in cash or otherwise, and how, what will be the sources of payment, and any other relevant particular as a board may think fit. उसके बाद आता है हमारा that will be the payment lawful if within the prescribed limit. Any payment which is made by the company to the managing director, full-time director, manager, or the company by way of compensation for loss of office or as consideration for retirement from office or in connection with such a loss or retirement shall be considered as lawful if it is subject to limit or priorities as prescribed in Rule 17 of the Company Meeting of Board and its Power Rule 2014. According to Rule 17, such a payment be lawful shall not exceed the limit as set out under Section 202. No compensation payable under this specific circumstances. According to Rule 17(3), no compensation shall be paid to the managing director, full-time director, manager of the company for the loss of company as a consideration for retirement from office, except notice pay and statutory payment according to the terms of their appointment in connection with such a loss or retirement if the company is in default in a payment of public deposit or payment of interest thereon. The company is in default in redemption of debenture or payment of interest thereon. The company is in default of redemption, repayment of any liability secured and secured payable to any bank, public financial institution, or any other public financial institution. Companies वो default में हो in payment of public deposit को लेके payment of interest. The company is in default में हो in redemption of debenture or payment of interest therein. The company is in default में हो repayment of any liability secured or unsecured payable to any company, public financial institution or any other financial institution. उसके बाद में है the company is in default in payment of any dues towards the income tax, VAT, excise duty, service tax, any other tax, duty, whatever name called, payable to the central government or any state government, statutory authority or local authority other than in case where the company has disputed the liability to pay such dues. There are outstanding statutory dues to the employees or workmen of the company which have not been paid by the company other than in the cases where the company has disputed the liability to pay such dues. And the company has not paid dividend on preference shares or not redeemed preference shares on the due date. उसके बाद what will be the payment proposal cannot be taken as approved if no quorum present. If the payment is not approved for the want of quorum, अगर जो payment है वो approve नहीं हुआ for want of quorum either in a meeting or an adjourned meeting, the proposal shall not deemed to have been approved. What will be the receipt of payment in contravention of Section 191? In cases the director of a company receive payment of any amount in contravention of Section 191, the proposed payment is made before it is approved in the meeting. The amounts so received by the director shall be deemed to have been received by him in trust for the company. In other words, the director shall not own such amount but keep it as a trustee of the company. What will be the penalty for non-compliance if a director of the company makes any default in complying with the provision of Section 191? He shall be liable to a penalty of 1 lakh. तो वो किस liable होगा for the penalty of 1 lakh. No effect on disclosure. Section 191. Section 191 shall not be taken to prejudice the operation of any law requiring the disclosure to be made with respect to the payment received under Section 191 or such other like payment made to the director. In other words, if required by any law, the disclosure regarding any payment of compensation shall be made. Due to the notifying of Section 247, the valuation of stock, shares, debentures, security will be conducted by the registered valuer as appointed by the audit committee or in its absence by the board of directors. Before this, it was being conducted by an independent merchant banker registered with SEBI or an independent chartered accountant in practice having the minimum experience of 10 years. Then आता है हमारा restriction on non-cash transaction involving the director, Section 192. Section 192 of the Act places restriction on the non-cash transaction involving the directors and the company vice versa. जो भी provision है Section 192 also operate if non-cash transaction involves a person who is the director of the company holding the subsidiary associate, a person connected with any director is also included. This provision are discussed as under. Then comes the restriction on acquiring asset for consideration other than cash. According to Section 192, no company shall enter into an arrangement by which the director of the company, its holding subsidiary, associate, person connected with him acquires or is to acquire assets for consideration other than cash from the company, and the company acquire or is to acquire assets for consideration other than cash from such a director or person so connected. How there will be the relaxation of restriction? Relaxation of restriction कैसे होगा? relaxation of restriction कैसे होगा? How there will be the relaxation of restriction. The above restriction shall be relaxed, that is, the company may enter into an arrangement involving the non-cash transaction as stated in clause 1 above if the prior approval for such arrangement is accorded by the resolution of the company in general meeting. While the director or connected person is the director of its holding company, approval shall also be required to be obtained by passing a resolution in general meeting of the holding company. What all will be the contents of notice? कौन से ऐसे contents होंगे notice issue for approval of resolution? The notice for approval of the resolution in general meeting issued by the company or holding company shall include the particulars of the arrangement. It shall also include the value of assets involved in such arrangement duly calculated by the registered valuer. What happens if Section 192 is contravened? Any arrangement entered into by the company or its holding company in contravention of the provision of Section 192 shall be voidable at the instance of the company. The arrangement shall not be voidable if the restitution of any money or other consideration which is subject matter of arrangement is no longer possible and the company has been indemnified by any other person for any loss or damage caused to it. If any right are acquired bona fide for value and without notice of the contravention of the provision of this section by any other person. Then आता है हमारा contract by one person company section 193. Section 193 of the act contains the provision in respect of contracts entered into by the one person company which is limited by shares or by guarantee. This section become applicable when such a OPC enter into a contract with its sole member who is also a director. Section 193 operates in the following manner. Preferably, such a contract should be in writing. If not in writing, OPC shall ensure that the terms of contract or offer are contained in a memorandum and are recorded in the minutes of the first meeting of the board of directors of the company held next after entering into contract. If the contract are entered into by the company in the ordinary course of business, then provisions of Section 193 are not applicable. Submission of information to the registrar. The company shall inform the registrar about every such contract entered into by the company and recorded in the minutes of meeting of its board of directors. This shall be done within the period of 15 days from the date of approval by the board. So this is in this chapter we have covered everything to the extent we can cover from the study material. This is, I know, the plain reading of the context of the entire context, but it is somehow it helps in building the pictures that exactly chapter में क्या है, क्या हमें पढ़ना है, and all such thing. Few things we need to retain by heart. That I know that we can use the Hemant Somani sir PDF, Shivam Singha sir PDF to retain this dot particular things. But एक बार glance होने के लिए I read the entire context in a very plain and vanilla way. All right.